standing at the bar and passed him, having no business with him, and nodded to one of the housemen playing Canfield at an idle keno table. The table in the rear held his attention, for Schultz stood beside it, beside Joe Neen, too, who sat at it. The two other men seated there, a drummer of some kind and Ray Kavanaugh, he noted and forgot before he halted across from Schultz. Will looked mildly at Joe Neen and said, "How do you like his story, Joe?" in his pleasant, quiet voice. Neen kept on riffling a pack of cards while he glanced up at Will. He was a man past middle age, heavy-boned and lean, dressed in a clean black suit, and his way of moving was purposely unhurried. In half a lifetime of petty officialdom supplemented by successful gambling, Sheriff Neen had cultivated a bland, pale-eyed, and unblinking stare that was calculated either to disconcert or anger a man. It did neither to Will now, as Neen knew it would not, and he turned his head to look at Schultz.
"You got a story, Russ?"
Schultz said blandly, "Me? No." And he was watching Will, almost smiling at him. Ray Kavanaugh snickered, and Will looked down at him briefly, blankly, and then returned his gaze to Schultz. The man's broad, surly face was oddly swollen around the right cheekbone, which held a small cut, too. "Well, well," Will murmured, and now he regarded Joe Neen with a kind of speculative insolence in his green eyes. He put both hands on the table now, and leaned forward and said mildly,
"Joe, don't fill out any warrant for me. I'll tear it up."
He and Neen regarded each other for long seconds, and Will came slowly erect. Neen said,
"What warrant?"
"Ask Russ." Neen said to Schultz,
"What warrant?"
"What's he talking about?" Schultz asked, almost smiling again. Once more, Ray Kavanaugh snickered, and this time Will looked at him steadily, his eyes bland and hard. Kavanaugh was a wry-faced Irishman, small, dressed in shabby range clothes that were not clean. Will saw bright malice in his face now, and he said softly,
"Get out of here, Ray."
In the thin silence, now the drummer got up from the table and left it, and nobody noticed his departure. Kavanaugh regarded Will carefully, his smile fading slowly. He glanced hopefully at Neen, and found only a neutrality there. He sat a moment longer with a fading defiance, and then he rose. Will saw him look at Schultz, a fleeting question in his eyes, and then he turned and strolled unconcernedly away from the table. Neen said quietly, patiently to Will,
"What warrant?"
"Any warrant, Joe, any warrant," Will murmured. Neen sat more erect now, and a faint anger edged into his voice as he said flatly,
"I want to know."
Will tilted his head towards Schultz, but did not look at him, and said meagerly to Neen,
"Russ claimed a calf in this morning's gather, and we argued. I hit him, and he left to swear out a warrant for theft."
Neen said,
"Bide's roundup, boss. What did he say?"
Will said dryly, mildly,
"Why, Bide was out on another gander. That's kind of a handy place to be when his own foreman has a row. Russ didn't wait for him."
Both Will and Neen glanced at Schultz now, and saw the faint smile on his face. Neen said with rising irritability,
"Well, Russ?"
"Nothing," Schultz said blandly. "Nothing." Will nodded and said mildly to Neen,
"Just remember, Joe, no warrant,"
and started to go. Neen said sharply,
"Will!"
Will halted by Neen's elbow and looked down at him, and Neen said carefully,
"Hatchet never was so big it could tell me what to do. Not even when Phil Evarts was alive. So be careful."
Will smiled faintly, watching the anger in Neen's eyes.
"I'm careful, Joe," he murmured. "Just so you are."
He glanced briefly at Schultz, and then again at Neen, and said, "Just be sure that Hatchet's dead before you and Bide and all the others dig a grave for it."
"Phil Evarts is dead."